now that we got all the pleasantries out of the way, let's get into talking some shop, my man.
Let's go.
So, article just came out. Adam Schefter going on interviews talking about, hey, this trade for Jimmy Garoppolo isn't a lock. There is now, some could say, hey, maybe that means that the 49ers may just cut him, may not only just trade him, but some people are saying that, hey, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo could come back. Flip that to, some of the greats of the 49ers, guys like Joe Montana, Steve Young, talking about, hey, Trey might not be ready. Maybe, we need to get a quarterback, keep Jimmy, or get a quarterback in here that could start because Trey might not be ready. And then you got just the 49ers linked to like every single quarterback that's available or not available, right? Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, who we thought retired. And Nick, you and I met last offseason, and we pretty much, I felt like we were debating the same thing, like who's going to be the starting quarterback for the 49ers. And I thought we finally, got over it with Jimmy starting for a whole year. And now he's going to like go off to his next venture, and Trey's going to be the guy. But what do you make of all of these rumors coming back up? And are people not, is there really some smoke behind Trey not being ready? Is there really some smoke behind that the 49ers might be looking for another veteran to come in and do another bridge before Trey actually gets to start?
There's a lot to dissect there. And what I want to start with is I feel like there's a misconception among the fan base. And this is how I personally perceive it. When you look at the media and when they say Trey Lance is not ready, I don't think that they're saying that in the sense of he can't walk onto the field and play as a top NFL caliber quarterback, or, even just what I think they're going with that is the 49ers are like no other team in the league where they finished in the Final Four. They finished in the Final Four. This is a team ready to win now. And when you hear people say Trey Lance isn't ready, I think they're talking more about Trey Lance may not be ready to take the 49ers to the Super Bowl right now, because outside of him, at least this past year, who knows what's going to happen with the roster turnover during free agency, during the draft. Who knows what the construct of the roster is going to look like next year. But when you look at this team, and if you were to take this same exact roster, carry it over to next season, it's a Super Bowl championship caliber roster. And I feel like that's what the media folk are kind of talking about. Trey Lance, is he ready to lead a team to the Super Bowl right now? I think he'd be just fine as far as, doing the things that Jimmy Garoppolo could do. Although I do think a lot of what Garoppolo brought to the table, the good things Garoppolo brought to the table, fly under the radar a little bit and are kind of underappreciated and undervalued within the fan base. But I think that's where the media goes with it. They see the 49ers roster, they see the success they had this past season, and they think to themselves, is Trey Lance ready to get this team right to where Garoppolo took them 2 out of the last 3 years, So I think that's where their mind is from, their thought process is at, opposed to Trey Lance simply is not ready, because I do think he's an NFL caliber starting quarterback as soon as next season. And now looking at these other rumors, the Tom Brady, the Aaron Rodgers, oh man, I'm sick of it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to go there. I'm more than happy to discuss it with you, but where I'm at, the trades that are going to happen and we'll talk about it, but I'm not talking about the hypotheticals and what could happen. I'm exhausted. Exhausted doing all that. But I will say I would put Trey Lance in the backseat one more year to bring in Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, especially after what you saw last year with the Rams plugging in Matt Stafford, putting them over the top and winning the Super Bowl. That's too good to pass up, in my opinion. So I would sideline Trey Lance one more year. If Rodgers or Brady became a 49er, I'd have no problem with that. But I'm not going to discuss it because this is Trey's football team as far as I'm concerned moving forward until it's not.
Man, oh man. So 49ers throwbacks, sup, Nick?
What's up, 49ers throwback? Love that Abby, by the way.
James Coombe Schefter also said the pick at number 3 after the trade was for Mac Jones. So, I mean, I feel like obviously Shefty's trying to break news, but for the most part, he gets it right. Amin, my man, if the Niners didn't want Brady in 2020, why would they want him now? Good point. I mean, Trey should have played this past season. He may have Ben Roethlisberger's first 2 years with this roster. Jimmy's not the QB to win a Super Bowl with. So, Nick, here's the thing, my man. So one thing I've learned about this Shanahan and Lynch regime is with the media, they're extremely calculated, right? They, we just saw them let last season go when they made the trade to go up, that they just let everybody run with the Mac Jones thing, right? Even though
sure did.
It ended up coming up that they wanted Trey Lance, and they were enamored with Trey Lance after they saw him, and so on and so forth. My whole thing is, I understand allowing all of this stuff because, look, this isn't the first time that they flirted with a bunch of different quarterbacks openly. Now, I'm not saying any of these rumors have come from the 49ers,
of course,
but you would think that when you have a young guy like Trey that's about to make the biggest leap ever in his football career, from going from from like never playing in the NFL to like being every now and then started a couple games, and now going to be the full-time starter. Don't you think they would shut this down? To like, if they're really behind Trey, don't you think they'd go to a guy like Montana and be like, yo, man, cool it, bro. Hey, Steve, like, I know you guys are up here in the media, but like, yo, this is the faithful, man. Like, what are we doing right now? This is our guy. And where is the confidence behind, or where is the articles from Shanahan or Lynch saying like, yo, this is just off-season talk. Trey is our guy. All this kind of stuff that they used to do even for Jimmy, right? You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm more like wondering, because it's like, and the reason why I say it, Nick, it's not just these guys that are outside of the circle are saying these types of things. Joe Montana is saying he's talking to players on the team that are saying this. And that's where things are a little bit different, because what do you think a guy like Trey's thinking when the greatest quarterback in his franchise's history is saying he's talking to players that think that he's not the guy?
Yeah. No, that's tough. That's tough. Let me touch on first why I don't think Shanahan or Lynch are coming out and getting in front of this thing and saying, Trey is our quarterback, we're moving forward this way. There's just so much up in the air right now, and it limits, like, you could lose a lot of trust. And I do firmly believe that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, mostly Kyle Shanahan, wants to give Trey Lance the keys to the franchise. And by making comments like that and coming out, first of all, this stuff happens so often, they're not going to be able to have a press conference every time a rumor comes out and say, right, yeah, we heard about the Brady comment or the rumors, and we've heard Schefter say this and that, and it's not true. I just don't think it's a smart thing to do, because that trust that you're trying to build with Trey Lance, if you're making those comments and then an opportunity presents itself where maybe you can get Aaron Rodgers for a reasonable price, or Tom Brady wants to come over for a reasonable price, and then what do? You don't do it because you told the fan base, you told Trey Lance he was going to take over, even though you're more of a Super Bowl contender next year with either of those two guys. So I don't think it's necessary to get in front of it and to shut everything down, to shoot it down and just name Trey Lance a starter. Because as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I'm sure they're concerned, Jimmy Garoppolo's still on the roster. It looks crystal clear that he's on his way out, but there's just too much uncertainty to come out and say, we're backing Trey Lance, we're not going after Aaron Rodgers, we are not going after Tom Brady. And if they were to say that, I'd be like, why would you make those comments to begin with? Because you are a better football team next year if either of those two guys become a realistic possibility to join your football club.
That makes a lot of sense. And, one thing that Jimmy Garoppolo always said about Kyle Shanahan and Lynch was they were always very transparent with him. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure there's a lot of behind the scenes conversations and that they're letting Trey in on and saying, hey, I know this stuff is going on, but this is why we're allowing these narratives to be spun. This is what we're thinking about. And you're our guy. And I'm sure they're communicating. And as long as they're good behind the scenes, what does it matter that what the public thinks, right?
So let me tell you this. This is the quarterback conversation I want to be having. Okay. Are the 49ers going to sign Tyrod Taylor? Are they going to sign Marcus Mariota? Are they going to sign Mitch Trubisky, Cam Newton? That's a fun conversation. That's not so exhausting because we're not doing who's the starting quarterback next year, da-da-da-da. And I think there's a lot of truth behind a discussion like that, because I do think the 49ers should upgrade QB2 next year. If Trey Lance propels into that starting role, I do not want Nate Sudfeld being the number 2 quarterback on the football team. I find so much value in having a second quarterback that can keep your season alive for a 3-4 game stretch if need be. Guys like Tyrod Taylor, Mitch Trubisky, Marcus Mariota, they have that ability. And I don't know if I just have PTSD from Jimmy Garoppolo and being so accustomed to the quarterback position, missing a few games year after year, where maybe I overvalue having a second quarterback that can kind of lead your team, because it's not a problem with these other high-end quarterbacks that you see in the NFL.
Right.
Maybe it's just my own trauma coming out as a 49er fan. But I would love to see someone like Tyrod Taylor or Mitch Trubisky come in and not necessarily push for the starting job, because that would just be awful if there was a quarterback competition between Mitch Trubisky and Trey Lance or something like that. But I love the security of having a guy who can help keep your playoff hopes alive, just like Nick Foles in 2018, 2000, whatever year it was, when Carson Wentz went down. And here comes Nick Foles, just taking it game by game, keeping the Eagles alive. So I do see a lot of value there.
Yeah, man. And also for a young quarterback, you want to have a seasoned vet back there to kind of help him with the X's and O's and be that mentorship type role as well.